Okay, we are here today with Jim Girouard, and he's going to talk to us about the Mandela Effect. Welcome, Jim.
Hi, Ileana.
It's nice to have you with us.
Thanks for having me on.
Wonderful. So, what is the Mandela Effect?
Well, I think most people are aware of, the Star Wars aspect of the Mandela Effect, where Darth Vader says, "Luke, I am your father," and now it seems to be, "No, I am your father." And there's numerous products. Some of them are even in the supermarket. You can check it yourself. I used to buy Bragg's amino acids, and now it's spelled Bragg with no S. And then there's Cup of Noodles, which is now Cup Noodles, and Jiffy peanut butter is now Jif. And there's just hundreds and hundreds of examples of these changes.
And realities also change in the Mandela Effect. Say today you went to a restaurant, right, to eat something, and it's a family-owned restaurant, and it's families coming in and eating, having fun with kids. Then the next day you go, now it's a bar, and you're like going, "What? You're in a totally different reality."
Yeah, the other thing was there probably wasn't enough time for them to switch it over.
Yeah, but in an alternate reality, it's now a bar, and you go, "What? I went there yesterday and it was a family restaurant, and now it's a bar." So,
Yeah, I think of uh, the quantum field when I think of Mandela effect, and there's some stages to the quantum field. The first stage was it was a theory. That was back in the 50s. Then some years later, they did an experiment. And in the experiment, the researchers found out that their thoughts were actually affecting the particles in the experiment.
wow. And another great example was last time we did an interview with Brad. We were like in a really different alternate reality where the sound was really bad on our ends. Like you were being kept interrupted. The sound like poof 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 poof, and there was nothing wrong with the equipment. And then Brad, his signal like dropped, and it was really horrible because somebody in another alternate reality was trying to stop us from having that interview. It was so important. And I was kind of discombobulated because my site was deleted suddenly. And I was like, what? I don't remember doing that. But in another reality, I think I may have deleted my website.
Well, if I find out who did that, I'm going to send them into another reality.
Yeah, so it's an example how things can change so quickly and shift in your reality, in the current reality, and you jump into a parallel one. You're still engaged, but you're being distracted or something is in your way, and it's about grounding yourself and bringing the space back to the current reality so it's not in the Mandela effect.
Yeah, exactly.
Just
I was wondering if I could get back to the quantum idea.
yes, please.
Okay, so in this experiment, the researchers discovered that the particles that were moving from side to side or from one end to the other, they realized that their thoughts were affecting the experiment. Okay, so this became really famous as a scientific experiment, became, you know, world known, very, very well read, very popular. Everybody knew about this. So then the Mandela effect started happening. I would say, I don't know, maybe 5 to 10 years ago, they started noticing it. Because, we were then approaching the end of the time cycle, which is December 2012. Okay, so what I think is happening right now is that instead of just a handful of researchers in a laboratory affecting the particles in an experiment, I think what's happening now is that the collective consciousness is now affecting the Mandela effect through the quantum field.
I would say so, yeah, because some of my friends have called me and said, the planet has changed. The continents don't look the same. The streetlights don't look the same. Something's shifted. Like, I feel like I'm in a different reality now. It's not the same map that I used to look at. Just as an example, like, it's not the same map. My reality has shifted, and I say yes, and that's okay. You're just experiencing the Mandela effect of things being different. Today was one way, tomorrow or the next day it's something else, and then it gets shifted back to what it was before. That's the Mandela effect at play, shifting timelines, shifting time itself between realities, parallel universes, multiverses, and even waking up and seeing things, remembering things from other lifetimes or parallel lifetimes, and you're like, oh, that happened to me. Now I can remember it because that veil has been lifted, the layers are lifting, and the Mandela effect is responsible. It's part of that, to do with that.
Okay, so a friend of mine came to visit me a couple of weeks ago, and I said to her, did we meet in 1977? And she said, yeah. I said, did we meet at the Winnipeg? She said, yeah. I said, was your brother in the band? She said, yeah. I said, was my brother in the band? She says, yeah. I says, how do you know I'm the guy that you met?
Well, we can meet each other in different time frames and timelines and have the memory recall of that. It's like you're walking, right? And there's a hologram of you going outward from your body and shifting in different timelines. And that hologram is there doing its thing. You're doing your thing here. And there's another one of you out there somewhere else in the parallel realities. And then suddenly all of those parallel realities meet together, and you were in the band, you met her there, you met her here, your brother was in the band, and she met him, and then, it all came together, and you see the story of how it all happened. Because she remembers that experience, you remember that experience. So you were both in that quantum reality, that quantum singularity in time where you were together there, and now you're both here. And the memories have been retained for you both.
Yeah, so the next question I asked her was, is it mirror, mirror on the wall, or is it magic mirror on the wall? And she said, mirror, mirror. So I said, okay, I'm the guy you met in 1977. Because she has the same exact memory as me. It's mirror, mirror.
Yeah, it's like looking at yourself then and now, and still remembering the you then and the you now, and it's just coming all together. It's like sometimes people can literally go through the mirror. It's a portal, and you can go into another reality, or even backwards in time or forwards in time, and look at yourself and what happened. And it's like memory recall, again, Mandela effect working at its best, shifting things in time and space.
Yeah, we're actually existing in all those parallels at the same time.
Yeah, I actually jump between timelines right now all the time, and I've been seeing the future of how buildings look here in BC, like the future city, how it's changing. And I'm seeing progressions of it. I would say it's maybe the Mandela effect at play, because I see the present, how everything is now, and then I see like 200 years into the future, and everything is different. Everything is clean. All the streets are clean. There's no pollution. There's no violence. The cities are made of this glass structure, and everything is biodegradable. Everything is earth friendly. It's amazing. And today I found an image of an example of those types of cities in the future. I'm like, oh, it's a confirmation that what I saw is exactly what I saw in that future timeline.
Yeah, I think the future timeline in that respect is it's a personal timeline that you yourself saw. So when I get glimpses of the future, even if it's in some of the readings, I kind of shy away from putting it on the internet because they might wind up thinking that what I'm putting forth in my prediction of the future is like written in stone, but it's not. It's changeable.
Oh yeah. I mean, and I saw the city, the change in different cities when I was actually driving in the streets. I saw the change. Then when I was sleeping, I also saw future cities in other countries that looked similar to that. So I'm not just seeing my own experience, I'm also seeing future timelines that have nothing to do with me. It's just how Earth was changing in those cities, how they were evolving.
Yeah, there's one strong possibility of a future timeline, and it's been described more than once. And it's a world where it's a peaceful world, and everybody's basically content, but everything is being run by artificial intelligence. So, in other words, there's no money system, there's no governments. You don't have to have this heavy-handed military, although there is some military to just sort of monitor, incoming crafts and things like that. It's basically, I think, what most people would consider a paradise, but it's not really a desired reality due to the fact that what we have now is we have all this chaos and trouble in the world. But the struggle that we have right now is what makes life what it is. If you take away that struggle, what you get is you just get a bunch of zombies, really. I mean, people living, everything's been taken care of and controlled. There's no challenge in life. There's nothing to look for. There's no mystery.
Well, I think, like, what you just described with that perfect paradise, that's called the Venus Project. That's
Well, the
exactly.
Venus Project is part of the direction that we're heading because I've known these people for several years. I contacted them more than 10 years ago. Uh, I can't remember the guy's name. It's Jacques something or other. It's a
Yes,
French name. I
yes.
contacted them a long time ago, and they have some great ideas. And the name of the book was the best that money can't buy.
Yeah, and the
And,
guy's like in his hundreds now, and he's still alive. That's something.
uh, he passed away.
He did?
Yeah, he passed away, and his secretary assistant, I can't remember her name either, but I was in touch with them, back then when they first started out. But their ideas are now starting to take off.
Now that's interesting. It says that the guy is alive and he just had his 96th birthday or something on the internet a month or
Well,
two ago.
maybe it's another Mandela effect.
Exactly, because I was just reading up on his birthday how much fun he had.
Yeah, his name was Jacques.
Yes, yes,
Uh, it's a French name.
yes. No, I know. I've done some
Yeah.
research on him. Somehow he's affiliated with the Andromeda Council because those are their concepts of buildings, how their buildings look like actually. So I think he's a starseed and connected with them somehow and some other councils. Because the vision is
Well,
great, just the
he
implementation.
was a brilliant guy then,
Yes,
and maybe he's still a brilliant guy and he's still alive. I mean, who knows?
exactly. Who knows? It's quite interesting. I'll have to look up on the internet to see if he's still alive and kicking after our
But
interview.
the building structures that they had, the drawings and just the whole idea of, harmonizing with nature and, restoring the ecological system, not having any money and having freedom. And, I mean, it just fits in with the new reality that we're looking at now.
And that's a perfect reality. I just don't want everything automated. I still want to be hands-on, making, manufacturing, working with products and working with items with hands.
Yeah, I don't want a voice coming out of a machine.
No, no, me neither. I think Star Trek and the Venus Project are a nice blend of that freedom, but people still doing what they're doing. Because in Star Trek, there's still this struggle sometimes. It's a utopian reality, but outside of the planet, there's still that chaos. And the planet needs to be protected, the Federation needs to be protected, and there's men and women doing the good stuff, to protect us and blah, blah, blah. That's still part of Star Trek. It's a utopian society, but it's not perfect. Men and women are doing stuff. They're working, they're diplomats, they're soldiers, they're warriors, they're still people interacting in reality, not just sitting watching a holographic video all the time.
Yeah, Star Trek was very thought stimulating, I thought.
Yes.
especially the Spock character who was kind of, unemotional and kind of logical. And, you wouldn't think that a character like that would be very popular, but he turned out to be the most popular character there ever was on TV.
Yeah, and then in the new Star Trek series, Spock falls in love with Uhura, the communications officer, and suddenly he feels emotion. He feels these feelings, because he's in love, man. So
Yeah,
he's somewhat emotional, and Uhura is really trying to bring out the emotion in him. And his family dies. Spock's family dies when Vulcan is destroyed. So he starts to feel things, and then he meets his future self in one of the movies, and his future self is feels emotion. So it's Mandela Effect: seeing yourself then, seeing yourself now, and seeing your future self together with your present self. So what is that message sending? Oh, okay, you can time travel and you can see yourself, your current self, and your future self, and you can exist on the same timeline. So that disproves a little theory that you can't meet yourself, otherwise everything is ruined. That disproves that theory, in my opinion, at least.
yeah, I saw that movie just a couple of days ago, and one of the things I was thinking about in terms of going back and meeting yourself is that this thing I heard somebody say one time about time travel. What they're saying is that if you go back and meet yourself, it doesn't disrupt the time-space continuum because of the fact that you now exist on a timeline where there's two of you.
Yeah. And you can't really alter anything. You can just meet yourself and say hi, but what you can do is improve your life somewhat, Can't really tell the current self, okay, this is going to happen to you. Your future self can't say that, but they can give hints, subtle hints that, how to steer the person on the right direction if they're going downhill. Just hints. Can't reveal all of the story, because then you'll change everything, but you can give hints and clues to help the current person go on a better timeline, I guess, if they're
But
totally downhill or something.
I think the Mandela effect, I think it's something that we shouldn't really be trying to figure out. It's just, it's a phenomena, and I think what we should just do is consider it to be a phenomena and just leave it at that.
Yeah, I don't really dwell on the Mandela effect. To me, it's like, okay, well, sometimes I jump timelines and realities, and then I come back into my fused current reality, and then I compare notes. Okay, well, that happened here, that happened there. Now it's all coalesced back into my firm reality. I'm like, okay, well, I should take advice from that future self, that higher self that, gave me some hints and pointers. And that's the Mandela effect working on me, because I exist in the 3D and I also exist in the 4, the 5, the 6, the 7th, and onwards. And I travel between all of those different dimensions and realities and timelines, future, past, present, and back and forth. And I still come back to this reality. I'm like, oh, well, I'm still me. Nothing bad happened to me. That's okay. I don't let it influence me, just the thought of the Mandela effect.
Yeah, your thoughts is what's creating reality.
Yeah, exactly. Just like I could say to myself, oh, I feel sick. I think I have this disease, or I think I have that disease. And that causes my mind to actually buffer those thoughts to my body and create that pain even though I don't have that disease. This is just an example of what could be if I was thinking bad thoughts like, I have this disease, I have that disease. Then my body kind of takes that blueprint thought and superimprints it on the body from the brain, and then the body feels this physical pain of something that's not really there. It's temporary because my brain superimposed that onto the body, those thoughts. And those thoughts could be yucky and bad, so that makes me feel bad physically. Then I think good thoughts and positive thoughts, and those yucky feelings and bodily aches go away. Again, the Mandela effect. Because we are human and we are co-creators on this planet. So we have the power to manifest things. More power than we have it, more power than we think actually, because That's superimposing things. Our thoughts superimpose that onto our physical body. What we feel, what we do, how we physically enact things. That's manifestation at play.
I also think of the Mandela Effect as something that's here, like a phenomena that's here to assist us in some sort of way.
Yeah, well, sometimes it's here to lead us on the right direction to make better decisions. Sometimes it shows us like a horrible timeline just to get us on a different direction, going on the right path. And I've seen that happen to me 1,000 times through the time jumping, through the time leaping, whatever you want to call it.
You doing any readings lately?
Well, yeah, remember I was telling you that I asked a question. I'm not going to say what it was, but I asked a question, and then that I said, oh, you have this disease. And then I did it again and again. Sometimes it showed up, sometimes it didn't. So it's one of those things, transmuting the thought of ideas, an influence on the mind and the body, and what really is there and what's not. I don't think I have that disease, but unintentionally I may have thought that in this time reality. That's why I was feeling pain.
I want to tell you a story about a guy I heard about when I was in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
He did an experiment on the radio, and what he said was, okay, we're going to do an experiment with the weather, and we're going to see if it rains out or if it doesn't rain, let's say. Okay, so thousands of people thought they didn't want it to rain, so what they thought was, don't rain, don't rain, don't rain. And it rained. So then he got back on the radio program and he said, the reason it rained was because the word rain was in the sentence. Okay, so now let's think about dry. Let it be dry. So everybody thought the same thing, let it be dry, and then there was no rain.
So
So
words.
it's the same thing with a reading. Like, if you're thinking of a certain word, it's going to manifest in the reading. In fact, it's such a delicate system that I've noticed that when I'm on the internet watching a video and I do a reading as I'm watching the video, there's all kinds of words that pop up that were mentioned in the video.
Oh, wow. So words have power. That's very true.
Yeah, whatever you're hearing and thinking is going to manifest in the letters.
But it's not going to necessarily manifest in the physical reality.
No, not necessarily.
That's very good to know, because it's like your thoughts, your brain, your body, it all interacts together. And sometimes when you think things too much, they actually manifest on the physical. So taking yourself out of that thought pattern switches things up, and you can make it more positive instead of thinking that. And the dice will tell you a whole other story afterwards.
Okay, so now that you've been doing this for a while, I wanted to ask you this. Are you getting a sense of the energetic currents?
Well, the sense of the energetic currents are telling me to have more positive thoughts and to not focus on negative things.
I think what I'm asking you is, are you sensing the energetic currents and feeling the effect of it?
Yeah. Oh, I can sense the energy in the dice themselves, because I got a big boggle set. It's like big dice, and I can't roll them all at once in one hand. So I roll them in turns. I don't do this and just, they're too big. So I take 10 in one hand, 10 in one hand, and I roll them, then 5 and 5 in another and roll them, or even 2 and 2. I know that's not how the rules are, but it works for me, and it still gives a good reading. So
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, that part of the instruction isn't, it's not written in stone.
exactly, just like life is not written in stone. The dice, the human set form of dice, I really interact with them well. I like to hold them in my hands. The letters are crisp, they're not wearing off. This boggle set is really different. It's more sturdier. The letters are not rubbing off.
Are the letters black?
They're dark blue. And I tried scratching them, and with the fingernail, nothing comes off. The paint is like thick.
You must have got a good set.
Yes, it was $55.
No kidding.
Yeah, quality is, sometimes it's better to pay a little more and you get quality instead of crap.
Yeah.
So, and I do have a strong current connection, of energetic connection with the dice that I have because they're the same dice the Jassarians taught me with on Cerulia in the Pleiades. Because I spent 2 weeks with them learning this divination. And then I told you about it, and you're like, oh, well, okay, you're not at the beginner's level. You're not intermediary. You're kind of in the middle. And it's thanks to those Jassarian seers. Because they got me to have that connection with the dice on the etheric level in their teaching classrooms. So I love those dice. I love any type of divination form, but I love the dice more than the tarot because it gives me a bigger picture. The tarot I work with as well because the imagery I see in tarot connects to current events, and the dice sometimes connect with future events, current and past, all together. So it's good to have all divination methods to use, but the dice to me are special because of the Jassarians.
Well, I'm in a position now, after all these years of doing it, that I'm the one asking the questions.
Sure. And you can ask a million questions with the dice and get very interesting readings, especially about lifetimes, like past lifetimes, future lifetimes, lifetimes in between, even pre-lifetime. Like why did I come here on Earth? How did I pre-plan my life? And the dice give you like a clear answer. And you're like, oh, well, that really does jive with what that psychic told me in that reading. So you can compare readings and really see the broad picture of the why and the who and the how and the when.
Yeah, now that we're talking about this, I'd like to say something and put a message out there.
Sure.
Lots of people have heard some of my interviews and they get excited and they buy the dice, but now I'm telling them, don't buy the dice. Get in touch with me on Skype first, then buy the dice later, because what happens is, if they buy the dice on their own without contacting me, they start getting expectations and they have desires that they want to be fulfilled. And what I'm trying to explain to them is exactly what you see in the movie Star Wars, where, Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda are teaching Luke Skywalker about the Force. Okay? And they don't tell him anything about fulfilling his desires. What they're saying is, okay, here's the nature of the Force. This is how it works. This is how you become a warrior. It's the same thing with divination.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same exact thing, because what happens is, if they have desires, if they buy the dice and they have desires and expectations, they're going to be disappointed real quick.
Yeah, the dice are not here to fulfill your desires and wants and needs. The dice are a divination tool to help you become a better seer, a better prophet, a better psychic, to sharpen your mind. It's like the enigma, solving the enigma. The Enigma Project in Hitler's time, it's like solving the puzzle pieces. That's what the dice are. They're little bits of puzzle pieces, and you put it all together. It takes time, it takes skill, it takes patience. And in the end, you do get a reward of having your questions psychically answered through your higher self, through your future
Sure.
self, through the universe itself giving you the answer through the dice that you may not psychically be able to get just with your mind. The dice are a tool, a divination tool, just like tarot or any other divination set of something modalities. They help you get answers. They're not about fulfilling dreams and desires. It's giving you an answer. It's about not going to a psychic and paying their money to tell you what you want to know. It's about the dice doing that for you. In your own home, in the privacy, in the comfort of your own home, working with this method. That's what the dice do.
Well, in some cases, I do tell people to find a psychic who tells them what they want to hear and pay them $50.
Yeah, well, I'd rather buy a nice boggle set for $55 and do a one-time payment and then work with the dice and get my answers and ask as many questions as I want and get as many answers as I want. Record it all and keep track of my answers. It's wonderful. And
So you can do psychic readings for the rest of your life for the cost of one set of dice.
yeah, Yeah, I mean, I can already do psychic readings without the dice, but the dice make it more fun because they sharpen my mind.
The decoding part for me is a lot of fun.
Yeah, same for me. I love the challenge of decoding. Sometimes it could take me an hour, 2 hours, 4 hours. It's the joy of the decoding. You're working your mind. You're literally evolving your mind while you're decoding. The Enigma puzzle of the dice. It really helps to teach you what subtlety is, how to get answers more quickly once you become familiar with the dice, how to figure out puzzles, how to figure out secrets, get answers to secrets. That's what the dice is. It's like an enigma. It's like the Enigma code, because it is a code that you need to decode and get some fantastic answers. Sometimes you may get answers you don't want to hear. It's not what you wanted to see or hear. Your mind manifested one thing through the dice, but you got something else. Or you get exactly what your mind was telling you, your subconscious. They're like, okay, well, yeah, I need to think about this.
Yeah, the secondary effect of doing these readings is that your desires do eventually become fulfilled.
Yeah, yeah, that's so true. And you need to be careful about fulfilling desires, because sometimes what you want to fulfill is not necessarily what's good for you. That's something too, a
Yeah,
reflection
it's
that
like,
comes out in the dice.
learning divination is like grabbing a tiger by the tail.
Yeah, yeah, and for me, I understand that it's a learning tool. It's a helping aid. It's not going to solve all of my problems. It's not going to give me all of my biggest answers that I ever wanted. It's a helping tool to get me on the right path to do what I need to do, just like any other tool is.
I get a lot of emails from people and they say, I bought the dice, this is what I want. And then I write back to them and I say, it's not about what you want. It's about understanding the nature of the energetic currents.
Exactly, and I bought the dice because I really liked how they looked, how they felt. They reminded me of the Jasarian dice on that other etheric realm where I was learning. And they were very similar. And when the dice came, I started holding them in my hands. I started, feeling them, touching them. They were cube shaped, and I like that instead of the square. I'm not a fan of the Campbell's one. I'm not a fan. I don't like the red and the black letters. I liked it all dark blue uniform. That's my favorite color, dark blue. So energetically, the dice set fit me, and I looked at the picture of the dice set before I purchased it. Look at what you're purchasing. Make sure it's the right set of dice for you. There are different forms of alphabetic dice. Just make sure you get what you want and not what you think like fantasy. Oh, I'm going to buy these dice. They're going to give me all my answers. Really look at what you're buying and like the dice that you're buying.
You know, for the price of one reading from one psychic, you can get the dice and do readings for the rest of your life.
Yeah, you can get a lot of mileage out of those dice. Like I said, those letters are still there. They're very durable. They're very hard paint. And yes, it's plastic, but it's very durable plastic. It feels very good quality, the way they're made. And there's this nice big box where you could put it all for traveling purposes, or you could put it in a nice velvet bag. So it's nice and safe in a velvet bag, in a pouch. So there's all kinds of things that you could do with these dice, and I like them because they're portable. I can take them anywhere with me and roll them anywhere as long as it's on a nice soft surface. So it's not just at home that I'm doing readings. Sometimes I'll go in the park and I'll take them out and I'll, feel them in my hands. I'll meditate with them even in my hands because it's a nice feel. I love my dice. No regrets, no buyer's remorse.
So, do you have any questions about the decoding?
No, I'm pretty much set. The decoding is simple for me. I don't read all 130 letters all at once. I still do the line, but I look at all the letters with all the lines. I still do decoding line by line, but I'm paying attention to the other letters, and sometimes I'm just seeing a word pop out. So I'm using both your technique and the line separations. I'm starting to do that together now, instead of just focusing on one line. So I'm starting to see the bigger picture of all the letters. for me, and that's wonderful. It's expanding my learning abilities. My brain is really processing what I'm doing. It's engaged. It's not disengaged.
Yes, there's probably about 5 or 6 people now that are doing dice reading decodings.
And how is it working for them?
I'm not in touch with all of them, some of them, and some of them have sort of developed their own style of doing it, which is kind of a deviation from what I showed them, but I can't stop them from what they're doing.
No, I mean, even I have that modified document on my website that I showed you, that I showed you before I posted it, because this is your dice method. I wanted to make sure I could post the modified stuff, the modified rules. And I added notes to that. People asked me, some people contacted me about the dice method, and it's like, why is it taking me so long to decode these things? It's like, and I said to them, is this your first time working with the dice? Yes. Usually it takes a little bit longer the first time. Just be patient and keep on working with them and, to decode. And then one guy told me it's not an efficient method to get answers to messages and questions. And I said, it is a very efficient method if you're willing to work with the dice, if you resonate with them. If you don't have the patience for it in the beginning, you're not going to get any answers to your questions. It's really a process about engaging in what you're doing and enjoying it.
Yeah, I mean, it took me 3 years to really learn how to perfect it. I mean, the thing is, I didn't have a mentor.
No. And it took me only 2 weeks to perfect the modified method, because I already had the beginnings of what you laid out. But I still played around with it, because not everybody sees these things in the same way. Not everybody is a seer, a psychic. Some people are just beginners, and they're not even highly in tune with their higher selves. Some people might not even know what a higher self is. They're
They've never heard of higher self.
exactly, their intuition is barely working, or they have advanced intuition, but they see these helpers, these rules, and it helps them to have some structure and to figure out this method, and then they modify it for their own purposes, however it works for them, and they pass it on, and so somebody else passes it on, and then it becomes very, very popular and fun.
Yeah, I seem to be redefining the suggestions and the instructions like all the time as I go along, because what's happening is I'm starting to notice the kind of response that people have to what I'm saying. And I think what's been happening up until this point is they just think that the whole process involves just getting the dice, throwing them, and getting their answers and getting what they want. But it's so much more than that. It's really hard to explain, because you're dealing with these energetic currents, which are very, very powerful. It's like dealing with the idea of controlling your own mind.
Exactly.
And the mind is very restless. It's very difficult to control. And then you're dealing with these energetic currents, which is like a tornado.
Well, I find my mind is very much at peace when I'm working with the dice. It's focused and it's centered on just the process of rolling, on the process of writing out the letters, the process of finding out the words and then forming the sentences, and then finding out, okay, what does that sentence mean to the question that I asked? Putting all the connections together. I really enjoy all parts of those processes, and writing down how that worked for me was really good with examples, so other people can see how it worked with examples. And some beginners might have an easier time with it, others might not. It's really up to you how you make the dice work for you. You might think it's one thing, but it turns out to be another thing. Just explore the fun of it.
I wanted to tell you about this one reading which I thought was kind of comical.
Sure.
It said, "Shut up. You're asking too many questions. You're probing too much. You know, that's coming from my higher self. You know, if somebody else said that to me, I might, that might be aggravating to me, or I might take offense or something like that. But when it comes from your own higher self, there can be some criticism in there, okay? But it doesn't hurt because it's coming from you.
Exactly.
So the
Yeah.
process is completely painless.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't pay $50 to have the psychic tell you to shut up. It was in the privacy of your own home. Your higher self through the dice said, okay, you don't need to ask so many questions. Just take it easy, man.
Yeah, there's hardly any psychics out there that are going to tell you to shut up.
Yeah, that's
Unless,
true.
unless they've known you for a long time and they're really, intimate friends or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, still, you're not paying $50 to be told something. You're doing it through the method of the dice. And and again, the alphabet is a game. It's a word game. That's what the Boggle set is for. That's what the Campbell set is for. It's a puzzle game. So you just made it more fun, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, my take on Campbell's Soup Company is that, like, from a subconscious level, maybe they weren't thinking this is going to turn into divination, but, in their minds, they were thinking, well, this is a cool game. But from a higher perspective, what they were doing was they were manifesting a divination tool.
Exactly. And the most interesting thing is you can't find the Campbell's soup dice set in stores or the Boggle game set in stores. You have to order it online. Nowhere is it physically sold in stores anymore. In toy stores. Nowhere.
They must have discontinued it.
Um, they didn't discontinue it. It's just more profitable online. You it's more profitable that way, and it gives you a discount when you buy it online. You can buy the Campbell's one, or you could buy the Boggle ones. It's just kids don't play. Okay, I think I understand why kids don't play these games anymore. Nobody's buying Monopoly. Nobody's buying these physical games because kids are playing video games. Kids are playing virtual games. They're watching TV. They're on the computer. They're playing those types of games. So the old school games are just not so cool anymore.
Well, some psychologists were saying that doing puzzles is very healthy for the brain, especially people that are older. So, the dice method falls right into that category.
Oh yeah, because it's another puzzle piece, and I wouldn't trade my dice for anything in the world. I love them. It's a fun way of working my mind, of sharpening my psychic skills, my intuition, talking to my higher self. It's a great method, and I like the physical Boggle set. I wish more kids or even adults would buy Boggle and play with it because it's
Yeah,
fun, or even Monopoly.
I know a girl named Laura. She's in Kansas right now, but she lives in Arizona. And I've been doing decodings for her for 2 years now. And she doesn't know the decoding part, even though she's a straight A academic in college. But she understands the meaning of the readings, which is actually better than being able to decode, because even if you can decode it, if you don't understand the readings, the readings are useless.
Yeah, no, I understand the readings. I understand the decoding, and I look for the meaning in the reading. I really connect with both parts of the process. And for me, I asked the question, well, why did I come to this planet? What's my life mission? And I got the answer. I already knew the answer
Right.
from my higher self showing me, but the dice just gave a bit of something more to it. And it was interesting. I know it's within yourself, it's your subconscious, but I got something outside of my subconscious and outside of expectation. It was like I put myself far away from the answer. I separated my emotional self from the answer to get a clear answer. There was
Right.
nothing going on in my head. So there was a wall between my subconsciousness. I got a universal answer that didn't come from my higher self. It came from the universe, pure universal answer.
Yeah,
without me being involved. I was, in the beginning when asking the question, I was involved. Then I was
right.
outside of the question answer, and just the universe gave an answer. So that's
Yeah,
interesting to
it might
me.
have penetrated right through your higher self, but came from the universe.
Yes, it came from the universe, and even my higher self was outside it. I physically and emotionally decided to separate myself from the answer and get a pure universal question, because there's universal knowledge that sometimes doesn't directly come from you. It comes from the universe, the truest universe of that mighty whatever it is, whatever whoever is the universe.
Yeah, it's the all-knowing mind. It's the life force. Chinese call it qi. Uh, some people call it God. I mean, there's a lot of terms for it.
Yeah, but the answer came from that energy. It didn't come from my higher self. And and then the higher self gave me some suggestions. Afterwards, after the reading was over, I'm like, discovered a little bit of extra. I went back because I had a feeling there was something more in that reading. And I got a little bit of extra, and you can always go back to the reading. If you have your letters recorded, you could get more out of it. It's a treasure trove. You can mine it until you get 400 different sentences and 400 different words and answers. It's like a never ending puzzle board that you can get more and more out of the more you explore it and enjoy it.
Yeah, you get a lot more perspectives from doing a reading than you would ordinarily get from just your thinking mind.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that. And it's, for me, it's like a fun game that I play. And I enjoy it. And I like physical games like Monopoly, Boggle. I like to physically interact with the energy of the dice, the rolling, the decoding, the putting everything together. It's amazing.
Yep, what I'm trying to do here is make as many shortcuts as I possibly can. And what I'm finding out is the shortcuts really have to do with trying to get people to just contact me first and find out as much as they can from me about the energetic currents instead of just going out and buying the dice and thinking, well, I'm going to learn this in a weekend or two. No, that ain't going to happen. I mean, it took me 3 years to learn it. I have a genius IQ. And, you may be an exception to the rule because, some people have the gift like you do.
I'm still humble about it. I may have the gift, but it still took me time, patience, and skill to modify your technique to make it work for me, because I couldn't read all 130 letters. I just couldn't. So I devised a different technique, and it took me a week to write it all out and to work it all out. It's a technique that works, and it's a rule set that works. I didn't just wake up, roll the dice, and become perfect at it. I had to work for it. And I was fine with that because I want it to work. Don't just expect it to work for you. And don't
Yeah,
get upset if it doesn't the first time you try it. Just work with it and you'll be able to get into the flow of it. And sometimes you try it 100 different times and it doesn't work, and that's okay too. Maybe you're not meant to work with it right now, but it will work for you later when you're ready for it. It's okay.
yeah.
Just don't
Even
throw out your dice. Keep them.
the readings that don't seem to have any meaning, those readings are what I call catalyst readings. And what I mean by that is a catalyst reading is going to set off a certain chain of events for some unknown reason. And that's why you're getting those readings that don't mean anything to you.
Well, so far, all of the readings mean something to me. And sometimes it's a set experiment that I
Yeah,
ask a question without expecting anything and get, oh, okay, well, record that and keep it at the back of the mind, see how it fits into life. Sometimes I don't really, sometimes it's an experiment. It's not even a reading, it's just an experiment. And
yeah,
it's just, I like Brad Johnson, he started experimenting with the dice. He didn't have 26 dice. He only had 13 that he 3D printed, and he asked, will Hillary Clinton become president? And he had a few letters that said, almost said Clinton. Doesn't mean she'll be president. It's just one reading, one possible timeline. Because timelines can shift. So don't expect the outcome to be that half a year later, because things change.
Yeah, another thing I noticed is that if you're feeling a certain emotion, that the best thing to do is really throw that emotion into the dice. Like one time I was feeling this intense hatred, and I just threw all of that emotion of hatred into the dice, and the reading that I got basically said something like, you don't have to be feeling hateful at this point in time, because here's what it looks like on one side, here's what it looks like on the other side, and here's a solution for you to think about, like an alternative.
Yeah. Or in my case, I try to not have any emotion when I'm doing it. Just to have a clear thought, not have any thoughts in my head, just to be so clear without anything in my head when I'm doing the readings, to get clarity from the dice. You could put thought to it, you could put anger into it, and you could throw it in the dice, or you can put nothing into the dice, just have a clear blank mind. It's what you put into it is what you get out of it. It's a duality. You could have it both ways, or just one way, or many ways. It's a duality type of a process. So you can have 100 different meanings, 100 different ways to do it, and just don't get discouraged. Work with the dice, feel the energies, get into the flow. Practice makes perfect. And I think that really applies to this divination method of the dice readings. The more you practice, the better you get at it.
So you were saying that some people actually contacted you and told you that they bought the dice and they're doing readings?
Well, yeah, I had a very interesting guy contact me. He's friends with Brad, and he already had a dice set. I guess somehow he had a dice set, and he said, well, it's taking me too long to do it. I said, well, you're just getting into it. Just be a little bit more, just be a little bit more practical and patient. And, don't expect to get it in 1 hour. You're just beginning. And he's like, well, it's not an efficient method to get answers with. I said, okay, well, you might feel like that. I don't. For me, it's very proficient and efficient. It may take me hours, or it may take me 5 minutes, or sometimes even 2 days to get all of it. But
So that's the problem. The problem is arriving at a conclusion from the mental platform.
I don't have a mental platform when I'm working with the dice. I just have the intention of having a good time, enjoying what I'm doing, and loving my dice. I have no platform. I have no agenda when I'm working with these dice. I am a psychic. I'm an intuitive empath. My mind, my emotions, my heart, my physical body is in tune with energies already, universal energies. I'm already getting information that way. That's how I do all my presentations. That's how I go to other dimensions. That's how I do remote reading. That's how I get my own memories back from the veil of forgetfulness, from the universe. It's already all there. The dice just amplify that by 100-fold and make it more clear for me. That's how it works for me.
Yeah, we're not getting any interference this time.
No, I think they were really out for us that time. In one timeline, my website was deleted. They were interfering with your signal with Brad's signal. It was just one of those kick in the ass days. But people still enjoyed that interview, and they got all the information out of it.
Oh, so did you get some emails from it?
Not emails, just some lovely comments. I asked people not to email me with comments about interviews. Just go directly and post your comments on YouTube. Or if you have something to say, you can email it to me as well.
Yeah.
I'm fine with either or. It's just, I prefer not to be flooded with 1,000 emails if I can help it.
Yeah, I I did a Mandela Effect video, put it on YouTube, and I got, I mean, in a month's time, I got 7,000 views. And I was getting so many comments, I had to shut off that function because, some of these comments are like nasty comments from trolls.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know what I do with those? The comments, I pre-censor them, so they're pre-authorized. If I'm getting anything from trolls, those comments aren't going up, people. You will never see them. You'll never see the nasty stuff on my YouTube channel because
Yeah.
it's all pre-authorized, so I see it before I even approve it. Everything is pre-approved, so if I'm getting nasty troll comments, they're not going up on my YouTube channel so nobody can see them. I just delete them in the background. That's how I've set it
So,
up.
comments like that, there's no need for people to be writing that kind of stuff. It's just, nasty stuff coming from nasty people.
Yeah,
You know,
it's just frustration, anger. People don't resonate with what they see. They don't like it, so they want to take it out on somebody else to make themselves feel good. And in the end, it's not going to work because it doesn't harm me. I really don't care. I see the nasty stuff, I delete it. I don't pay attention to that. You think you can bring me down by writing those things? No. I've learned to go beyond that stuff. It just doesn't faze me. It's just words and comments. Sure, they're hurtful. They're meaningless and pointless and just a waste of time. I just delete them and move on with my day. That's how I look at it. It's very simple. It in no way, shape, or form affects me personally because I really don't care. If you resonate with something I post, great. If you don't, that's okay. Just move on. Move on elsewhere and look for something that does resonate with you. It's as simple as that. It's all
well,
information.
I'm a lot more relaxed now that I turned off that function.
I don't care if it's on and or off. Most times, I don't even have the time to check what anybody has written. Once a week, I'll check, and if the comments are good or something interesting, there's a lesson from what the commenter posted, I'll allow it to go through. If it's nasty, I just delete it. It's like junk mail, gone.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping that there will be some, new people coming along, contacting me on Skype and then getting the dice and, just basically got to the point now where I think I have a system that I think it's going to work from this point on. It's just that I had to study people's reaction and find out why they're doing certain things in a certain way and just sort of work my way around that.
Yeah, I mean, like you were saying, everybody might try it differently and figure out something that works for them, and you're just taking the comments and putting something that works together with everybody's input and your own experience and, making new rules because you can modify it and make it better and new.
Yeah, there was a point, 3 or 4 years ago where I kind of wanted to, pass this knowledge on so that it would continue. Because, I'm not going to be around forever. So, since that day, I'm kind of in a different position where I feel different about it now. And the way I feel now is I don't really care so much if it gets passed on or not. And I think that has a lot to do with actually getting it out there.
Yeah, when you don't care, it actually does better for some reason because you're not so invested in it. You let it go, and then it just miraculously manifests on its own and spreads like wildfire. I've noticed that. And I've put up the modified method on my website, and it's forever emblazoned out in the internet world. Anybody cares to look, it's there. And some other people have posted it as well, like the original method, so it's floating out there. People look at dice divination, they see it, they see the process. It's out there, it's floating about in the internet ether.
It takes a long time to get a brand new science out into the collective mind because nobody's seen this. Nobody's ever done this before. It's brand new. It's never been seen before.
And I like it. I mean, it's right up my alley with what I like to work with. To tell you the truth, I get more joy out of the dice than out of tarot.
Yeah, a lot of people have told me that they like it much better than tarot.
Oh, I think it's more intuitive and getting a deeper and a broader answer, a more deeper
Well, the,
meaning.
the thing about the dice method is that you're participating in the process.
Yes, for
Whereas
sure.
tarot is like, it's very mainstream, it's very typical. You have the cards, you set the cards out, you look up the meanings. It's all sort of fixed.
Yeah, and with the dice, you can't go into the rule book and look for the meaning because you have to interpret the meaning yourself of what their words are telling you. The words are the meaning. It's a clear, exact meaning.
Yeah, there's been some instances where someone will write to me and say, okay, I got the reading, what does it mean? And then I write back to them and I say, if it doesn't mean anything to you, it has no meaning.
Yeah, and same like people get soul readings done by psychics or intuitives or seers, and they get everything transcribed to them, and they're like, what's the meaning of that reading? They need somebody else to interpret it for them because they don't quite understand what was given to them in the first place. And I say, and people ask me personal questions to give answers to them, and I say that's your own personal question. Only you can give the answer to it. I'm a good seer, I'm a good psychic, but sometimes I don't have the answers to people's personal questions because I'm not living their life. I'm not in their shoes. So I can't answer everybody's questions about their own personal questions. I don't have the personal answers to them. I can
Well,
psychically intuit something, but it's your own life, not mine.
it's a, here's another point which I think is kind of important. A lot of times there are some things that come out in a reading that don't mean anything right now, but they could be predictions of something that's going to happen 3 days down the road. So if they say to me, what does this mean? I don't know what it means any more than they do, but there's something in that reading that is predicting an event that's going to happen in a couple of days. And then a couple of days come by, and all of a sudden they remember the words of the reading, and it spelled it out exactly the way it was going to happen. But I had no knowledge of it.
Oh, for sure. Or you have questions that a psychic may not be able to answer your personal questions, but you save those questions and the answers come to you later, a couple of weeks later from your higher self, and you get the answers. I mean, like I was saying, I'm a good psychic, but sometimes I get such personal questions like, what will the higher dimension, the fourth and the fifth dimension, mean to my life? How will I live in that dimension? And I say, I can't tell you how you'll live in it because to everybody it's their own personal experience of how they live in these dimensions. It's your own life. I may say, well, everything is great in the fifth dimension. There's no poverty, there's no war, there's no money, there's no government systems that tell you what to do. In my reality, that's how it might be for me. In somebody else's reality, that dimension might look different. So I can't really tell you how your life will be in a dimension because I'm not really living your life. I could intuit how it might look, but it might not be that way because
Yeah.
realities and timelines and dimensions shift and change.
I started noticing after doing, a certain amount of readings that after about 3 days to 2 weeks, after getting the first reading, they would have a phenomenal experience. So now what I tell them is that after the first or second reading, they are going to have a phenomenal experience within about 3 days to 2 weeks. Some people it's longer, but when that phenomenal experience happens, they're going to understand everything because a deja vu is actually stepping into eternity. And in eternity, there's no time in eternity. And that's the all-knowing mind. That's enlightenment. But you only become enlightened for about 10 seconds when it happens. And so, 10 seconds isn't long enough for you to study the nature of these currents. So, but if you do a reading every single day of the week, if you're having these phenomenal experiences on a weekly basis or a daily basis, even a monthly basis is better than having a deja vu once every 10 years. So now you're having these phenomenal experiences on a regular basis. You can study these energetic currents, and you can learn the nature of it, and you can put your finger on the trigger mechanism that makes the energetic currents do what you want.
Exactly, and I live in a dual experience of life where I'm on the 3D world. I experience the good, the bad, the nasty, the positive, everything I experience. And, I'm most of the time I'm very positive. Sometimes I get very negative, and that's the duality of life on the 3D world. You experience the good, the bad, and everything in between, the gray, the white, the silver. And it's a dual world. The 3D world is a dual reality of contrasts, of the light, the dark, the negative, the positive, and everything in between. And it's okay to experience all of it because we're here to learn on this planet right now. Just because you're having bad thoughts doesn't mean you'll always have them.
I've gotten numerous emails from people after they heard one of my interviews, and they're telling me that they had a phenomenal experience as a result of hearing my interview.
Oh, that's
Now,
great.
I don't know if that's a tone of my voice or if it's the subject matter, or maybe it's a combination of the two, but there's something in there that's stimulating these phenomenal experiences when people hear these interviews.
And people get all kinds of experiences out of it. Some positive, some might get a negative one, and that's okay. You are allowed to feel what you should be feeling and to process it and to understand it and choose to let it go or choose to go through with it and experience it until you understand what it is, what you're learning from it, the purpose of it, why it's there, why you're feeling this or going through this. This planet is a place for learning. It's literally, you learn from every minute little thing that happens to you, or will happen to you, or ever did happen to you. It goes on and on and on. This place is like that. That's the energies of the 3D world. Or even stepping up to the fourth. It's learning, it's experiencing, it's processing, it's letting go, and it happens all over again with some other experience or situation. So it's okay to be human. It's okay to feel happy, sad, angry, positive, negative. It's all in the matrix. It's all part of life. And some people may not like what I'm saying right now. And that's okay. You don't have to like what I say. Or you can like it. It's your own personal preference or experience.
Yeah. Well, who knows? Maybe someday the method will take off and, lots of people will get into it and have experiences.
Well, I'm sure lots of people are already experiencing it. That's why I posted it on the website, hoping somebody would find the information and enjoy it. And I have a feeling people are playing with Boggle or Campbell's dice now. Somewhere out there, somewhere, somehow, somebody is playing with the dice.
There's a lot of people have dice, boggle dice sitting on their shelf, and it's been sitting there for 10 years doing nothing.
And now it's out and about, and they're doing work with it, having fun. That's the beauty of it. You could put something aside for 10 years, like you said, and then you go on somebody's website, you hear it through someone, and they're doing this divination work. And, oh, okay, well, I have that at home. I'm going to go and try it and see see if it works for me, what it is, how it works. And it just takes off from there. I mean, when I was ordering my Boggle set, there was 5 of them available. And 3 weeks later, there was 0 of them available because it was bought all out.
Yeah.
So it's popular.
I just hope that when they pull those boggle dice off the shelf that there isn't some kind of Mandela effect and there's no letters on the dice.
I don't think that's going to happen to people. Those dice are really cool.
Or else the letters are a different color or something.
Or their letters are in a different language altogether, an alien.
Well, either that or it's not a boggle game. Maybe it turned into Scrabble.
Who knows? Scrabble is flat, though. You can't really roll Scrabble tile pieces.
Yeah, so, I guess the question is, like, how far does this Mandela effect thing go, really?
I think there's no limit to the Mandela. It's like Murphy's Law. It hits you when you least expect it, and you're like, what? Where am I?
Well, somebody brought up a really interesting perspective, I thought, which was that the flat Earth thing was a Mandela effect.
Oh boy, I'm not even going to speculate on the flat Earth. I don't think it's flat, and I don't think it's totally circular. It's something in between. That's as far as I go with it.
Well, I was talking to one of the devotees from the Hare Krishna temple, and he was saying that the Vedic conclusion from the Krishna books is that the Earth is multidimensional. So that means that the Earth could be both flat and round at the same time.
Or it could be both, not either flat, not either completely round. It has planes. It has dips and curves. It's not flat. It's not completely round. It's a planetoid. It could be evenly shaped or it could be misshaped. There's so many shapes out there in the universe. It's all part of that experience and how you see it as well.
Well, I don't think we're ever going to know for sure.
Well, maybe 200 years down the road or sooner. I mean, there's all kinds of disclosure going on. So the flatters and the earthers can keep on going at it until they, I don't know.
Well, I kind of like the flat Earth idea. It's just that I don't want to be walking around with a sign on my back that says "kick me."
Me neither. I don't agree or disagree with either sides. I think it's something in between, in the middle, not completely flat, not completely round. It's something in the middle, and that's where my stance on the fence is. That's where I'm sitting, in the middle. Because I don't agree with both sides. I think it's a bit of both.
Well, somebody had this great idea. They said, I'm going to explain to you how the Earth can be flat and round at the same time. And what they did was they took a magic marker and a piece of paper, and they drew a circle, and they cut out the circle, and they held it this way and said, "See, it's round." And they turned it this way, and it's flat.
I think it's both, round and flat.
It's got to be both.
It's going to be both, and
But
yeah.
what's the point of having these discussions? These dialogues about whether or not it's flat or round. I mean, to me, that sounds like unresolved issues.
Newsflash, most people think it's round because NASA is showing us images of planets that are round. So currently,
Well,
the current
the other
theory
thing
is it's round. It's a sphere. That's what NASA is putting out. NASA is probably lying somewhat, but that's the current working theory. Science will change with time, and I'm sure people will discover some parts of the Earth are flat, some parts are more curvy, more circular, more this or that, all kinds of shapes. So there's so much out there, people. Just think whatever you want to think, have your theories, have your thoughts, experience the process, enjoy your life, and, don't throw rotten tomatoes at me for saying it. Just enjoy it.
Hey, if you really think the Earth is flat, get a crew cut.
Oh boy. Yeah, get a funky style of hair. If you want your hair flat, make it flat. You want it round, make it round. Do whatever you want. Go bald for all I care. Enjoy yourself. Be happy. Oh boy. Well, there's so many theories, so many ideas, so many thoughts. We're all allowed to experience what we want and get out of it what we want or think to get out of it. It's part of life. Enjoy it.
It's all about perspective in the end.
Yeah, and we all have our own perspectives and thoughts and ideas, and we're all allowed to experience those. This is about free will. There is free will on this planet. That's why so much is allowed to happen, because everybody is putting out their free will and experiencing their own thing on their own separate reality in a bubble of themselves. And they're outside of themselves sometimes with the whole consciousness, man consciousness, and experience it together and separately. That's the duality. You can have it separate, you can have it together. That's the free will of the mind, of what this place is that we're in. We're all playing in it and experiencing it, and then we can go off to different planets, different dimensions, and experience something else that's totally different. It's okay.
Yeah, it's going to take quite a bit of time, I think, to integrate all of these problems that we're having and come up with solutions and just sort of work things out with the money system and, building new ecosystems and just clean up the planet, clean up the mess in politics, just clean everything up and start over again.
Yeah, well, I hope to see it in my lifetime. I'd like to see
Well,
it now.
you're going to see some of it, at least some of it.
Yeah, I'd hope to speed up time and see it all in one blink of an eye.
That could happen quickly. I mean, there's no way of telling, but usually these things, it took, thousands of years to get here to mess up the planet. It took such a long time that it's probably going to take a long time to clean it up.
Yeah, truth is for me, I don't have thousands of years to come back here and do it over and over again, and I wouldn't wish it on anybody in this world. This is probably my last lifetime on this planet, because if it's going to take thousands of more years to figure it all out, I'm going to go elsewhere where it's more easier and fun, because I don't want to be living in a world where it's all hard all the time. I want a nice balance of things. I know that's not perfect, but I want a more balanced place where there is no hunger, no war, no this or that. Still some challenge, but not the challenge we're getting now. That's for sure. It's too much
I,
for me.
I understand that there are some other planets where there's enslavement, but there's not very many of them.
Yeah, like Mars is a good example of enslavement. What the interplanetary corporate conglomerate is doing, they're experimenting with people, unwilling people. They're making cyborgs out of them. Super trained soldiers. That's allowed to happen on Mars because nobody's really looking at that planet. We're all told there's no life on Mars. Humans don't live on Mars, and yet that's not true. It's a huge kept secret. There is life on Mars. We're on Mars. There's no checks and balances on Mars.
Yeah, so they do have a blue sky and an atmosphere and oxygen and all that?
Well, they have a blue sky sometimes. It's purple or yellow at other times. Depends on which time of day, night you look at it. It's 3 different colors. It's purple, it's blue, and it's yellow. And it's red sometimes. 4 colors, really. The atmosphere is thin. It's not like our atmosphere, because half of the atmosphere is gone. But there is an atmosphere. And there's living beings on Mars. There's some type of reptilians. There's ant people. There's also the original humanoid colonists that didn't leave the planet when Maldek was destroyed. And half of Mars was traumatized. And there's also us as well. All these different bases from the breakaway civilizations. You have your secret government groups, you have your breakaway civilizations. Mars is occupied. So is the moon.
I think if there was any place I could actually go to, it'd probably be inner Earth.
Yeah, well, they're cool. I've met them. I like the Anshar group. They're pretty developed spiritually and emotionally.
Well, they're not dealing with solar radiation from the universe, from being on the surface, and they have a central sun, from what I understand, and they have everything else, the mountains and the trees and the lakes and animals and flowers, just like on the surface, except the frequency is much better.
Yeah, I mean, they've been able to somehow filter out the negative aspects to a certain degree. So they have as close to a utopia as they can get, with still some challenges involved along the way. So it would be interesting to really start interacting with them and see how they do it. Let's start having some exchanges. Agartha Network, Anshar Group, come and play with us. Teach us your ways. Teach us, we're willing to learn. We're here. We're waiting for you to come out and tell us you're here. We want to see you. We'd like to experience Agartha. We'd like to experience Inner Earth. So we're here. We're ready. Anytime you come out and play with us, we'll be here. And they're real. I've been in Inner Earth. I've been in Telos, and I've been in some other cities of the Agartha Network. Some of their groups are a little skittish, and they don't want to interact with humans. Some other groups do. There's some reptilians there too. And some other ET species that are hiding. So, there's sections. Either in Inner Earth, there's also sections. It's not perfect, but it's more balanced than it is here on the surface.
Your name was mentioned in a video. It was the last interview with Max Spears. and he was talking to a European guy, and he mentioned your name and said that you had astrally contacted the Queen.
Yes, that was an experience. Queen Elizabeth.
Have you seen the video?
No, I'm afraid to ask where my name is mentioned these days.
I thought it was pretty interesting that it was accurate, what he was saying.
Yeah, I did meet the Queen, Queen Elizabeth. She's a 7,000-year-old reptilian. He's been here a long time, and she was a bit snooty. And she's like, "So, Star Traveler, you finally deigned to speak to me, eh? You're finally on my list to make communications with." I said to her, "I'm just curious about who you are, what you're doing here, why you're here." We had like a 5-minute chat on the astral plane. And she's like, "Oh, I feel some negative energy in your spinal cord. Can I take that, please?" And I said, "Sure, you can have it." So she sucked out that negative energy from my spinal cord, and I felt better, and she got her dose of Sloosher, whatever. We feed off of negative energy. So I just gave it to her.
That's an interesting story.
Yeah. And she's like, she doesn't really like to be in the human form. To her, it's a lot of work to keep that form going. They'd love to be in their reptilian form and just walking about without the secrecy.
Yeah,
So she still has to play by some human rules as well to stick to that human body. And she's a tall woman. She's 7,000 years old, and she's like 14 feet or even 16.
so she must have to shrink down the size. I mean, she's only about what, 5'8"?
Yeah, if that, she looks old. It's called metamorphing. So it's not really shrinking, it's just changing your bodily appearance. It's taking on a humanoid form. That's not her form, it's just a holographic reflection of what her humanoid form is, and that's not her pure form. She's pure reptilian. She's a green-looking, grayish reptilian.
I would think that there's some sort of a way that you could break that hologram, like with like a laser or something.
Yeah, you probably could. There's certain frequencies, set of frequencies, and buttons. Some ETs wear buttons that they project a holographic image of a human onto themselves because they can't physically take the shape of a human. The Queen can physically take the shape of a human because she's reptilian.
So that means you're not really shape-shifting.
Well, she is shape-shifting. She's shape-shifted into a human form in the public eye, and in private when she goes underground, she's in her reptilian form. She can shapeshift. Reptilians can really shapeshift. They're original ones, the pure bloodlines of reptilians. There's the reptilian hybrids that are part reptilian and part human. So they morph slightly into a reptilian form, but not completely reptilian because they're hybrids. So it's really it's a mixed bag of tricks, so to speak. And there's a lot of different reptilian species. They don't all look the same.
Yeah.
So you can't just say this one is all bad, this one is all good. There's
Yeah.
so many of them out there. You have to figure out their agenda.
Boy, there's a lot of stuff going on.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of stuff going on. The Queen didn't kill me, so I'm alive. I live to tell the story. And I usually don't like to talk with the negative regressive ETs, but I live in a dual world. I was curious about her, so I knocked on her telepathic door and I asked her some questions, because I'm curious. I know what to expect from reptilians. It's not the first time I've met a reptilian. I was abducted by them from the age of 2 to 10 in Ukraine. So it's not the first time I've seen them. I'm not afraid of them. I've seen the worst out of them and what they could do. It was just a talk with the Queen. Nothing more, nothing less. It was funny. It's really funny. At least to me it felt funny. So, chat with the Queen. I can't go to England physically, but I could still talk to her telepathically. Not that I'm going to be doing these talks with her much. I find her a little too snooty for my taste.
Yeah.
Condescending. But to each their own, and I'm sure she must be here for a reason. She's been here 7,000 years. Must be really tiring being here that long. Stuck in that one form, in that body.
Well, it's the price of rulership.
True. It's true. Don't know how much influence she really has over people. Because she's like a talking head, so to speak. She's
Yeah.
not really like a leader. More like in the advisory capacity these days. Because it's not a true monarchy anymore. It's more, people's government.
So do you have any more interviews lined up with Brad?
No, not really. I'm sure we'll do at some point something about the SSB Alliance. I'm sure we'll do some form of it. I don't know if it's going to be in August. I'm having an interview with Mark Sorensen in August. And
Well, that should be interesting. I just spoke to him on Skype a few days ago.
nice. I've spoken to him a few times. I'm just going to be talking to him about the Pleiadians, about his ET experiences, about his healing abilities, psychic abilities, how he does the work that he does. I really enjoy talking to people and figuring out how people work, who they are, what they do, why they are here on this planet.
I got some questions for that guy.
Well, you should ask him. He's an open book.
Anybody that has a wide spectrum of knowledge, I like to talk to and ask them questions. And one of the things that's been going through my mind is whether or not Lemuria sort of was around either right before Atlantis or right around the same time.
Right before and at the same time.
That's what I was thinking.
It was. I have had lifetimes in Atlantis, Lemuria, Inner Earth, and Lemuria was in the time of Atlantis and before the time of Atlantis.
Yeah, it seems like they merged into each other somewhere.
Yeah, and they even fought with each other at one time. So, and then elements of Atlantis and Lemuria, the breakaway civilizations, they went underground and became part of Inner Earth groups. So there's elements that survived, and they went on in Inner Earth and joined those civilizations. So, I mean, there's Atlantean bases under the ice of Antarctica. Functioning bases that were left behind.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
Yeah. I mean, I was stationed up there at some point when I was with the Secret Space Program. So I saw all of these, for the lack of it, evolution chambers. I'm not sure what else to call them. Where you sit in one, and you get this informational download of whatever you want to learn, or you get a healing. It's like a crystal seat that turns to stone. And then when you energetically activate it, it becomes crystalline again, and you sit in it. You can get a healing in it, you can get an informational download from it to learn something. You can get your psychic abilities amplified. So there's so much stuff under Antarctica. And those bases are still functional. Very much so.
Interesting stuff.
There's Stargateways there, like Stargate technology. And there's parts of the secret program
These
there.
things still functional?
Yeah, the SSP uses them. Secret Space Program is there. They have bases there. It's all
So,
functional.
What's the power source? I mean, how did they maintain functionality over thousands of years like that?
There's these There's this energetic grids that are crystalline. They're powered by crystal technology, just like an inner Earth. That's the same stuff that powers the original Atlantis bases. It's all based on crystal technology that's been turned into fusion, energetic fusion energy that powers their grids.
How is it that the ice didn't destroy everything?
Well, actually, the ice preserves things. The ice sheet, it hides things what's underneath. Those bases are
Did
sturdy.
you have to dig up tons of ice to get to these structures?
No, they went under the ice through the water caveways. There's tunnels. There's under Antarctica, there's tunnels,
Yeah.
so they can get through the tunnels that were already carved out during that Lintan times. And there's also water tunnels, so they can go through submarines underwater to these Atlantean bases and to other bases that the ICC has built out.
If there's disclosure, they're going to let us go there?
I would certainly hope so, when and if disclosure happens. That's when. The question is, when are they going to disclose all of this?
How about a bus tour to Area 51?
You're not going to see much at Area 51. There's the top base, the surface base of Area 51, and the 52 other levels that are secret underground that they're not going to show you. Area 51 has 54 levels. 2 of the levels are on the surface, the rest of the 52 are underground. Think of NORAD and the bases that they have in NORAD. That's Area 51 times 4 times 54 basically.
But when you were in the secret space program, did they give you like a military suit?
I don't like wearing gray suits. I like the blue and the white suits. The skin-tight suits.
Your suit, right? They gave you a suit, right?
I chose my own suits. I don't wear the standard scratchy gray black uniform that they wear. Got to choose my own suits.
I mean, did you take back any mementos?
I took back all my memories of all of my experiences that I'm disclosing. Those are my mementos. Man, I like to wear the blue suits, the skin-tight suits, the silver ones and the white ones. Those are my favorite suit colors.
Yeah.
And they're skin-tight. They're not baggy uniforms, you know.
How did they cut you loose? I mean, did you just tell them, you're done with this?
No, I wasn't the one that told them that I was done. To tell you the truth, I was happily plodding along in doing my work because I was kept healthy and I was kept young. I was constantly age regressed. This is not funny. I looked like I was in my 30s all the time because they kept on pumping me with bio drugs that kept me young. And I was healthy as a horse, so I was enjoying what I was doing. But when chronologically my body reached the age of 60, I didn't look 60. I looked slightly older than this form that you see now. They said, okay, you've done your 60 years, time for you to have a normal human life. And they sprung me out into the human world.
What did they do? I mean, did they give you an ID and set you up in an apartment or something?
Well, they age regressed me, first of all, and I had a normal human life being born in the Ukraine, immigrating to a few different countries before I ended up in Canada. I don't think they gave me my own apartment. I still live with my parents. They just brought me back in time to when I was 13, 15, and just brainwiped all of my memories and let me have a normal human life. I was just the was I was supposed to, if I had never served in the secret space programs.
So how did you retrieve those memories?
Through a lot of hard work. I started learning shamanism. I started learning psychic development. I started learning Wicca magic. I started learning the Akashic records, how to go into those. Then I wanted to have ET contact experiences, and I started learning meditation. It's like relearning everything you ever needed to know, because everything was wiped, so I wouldn't remember anything. It's like blank slate and you have to learn everything again to
Yeah,
retrieve your memories.
yeah,
So I went from scratch and relearned any type of modality I could get my hands on, spiritual, metaphysical. I learned Reiki. I'm a natural crystal healer, but I did learn crystal healing, the science of it. So I had to relearn everything that I ever knew when I was in the secret space program. Because all those teachings were part of my background, of my esoteric background in the SSP when I was serving with them. So, and through the process of going through all those journeys over 4 years, I got my memories back because the shamanism taught me how to do past life regression, how to do hypnosis. So I can basically go back into my life stream and retrieve all my memories that I need to have. And I can talk to the universe and get information that way. Just ask the universe, I want to know this. Give me the information. And I just get an informational biofeedback with the information coming to me. So that's how it works for me. It took a lot of hard work. I can't just say I woke up yesterday and I had all my memories back from the SSP. That's not how it worked. It was all gradual. It was step by step. And I worked for it. People just want it all back without working for it. But it's not how it works, I don't think. Not for me anyways. It wasn't just magic switch that was flipped and I got everything back. I
yeah,
had to explore myself and who I was, what I was becoming. Because I'm an Andromedan Palladian hybrid, so my human body is not exactly human anymore. I'm going through a transformational phase where my original ET DNA is inserting itself onto my human DNA and transforming me. So there's all kinds of stuff going on. Sorry, I'm starting to lose my voice. All kinds of stuff going on with me that's changing me.
well, I hope we have a follow-up to this because I think we covered a lot of good subjects.
Yeah, we did. We covered a lot, and there's always more. I feel like I'm a news reporter, and there's something always coming on my journalistic desk to talk about, to present, to explore. And I'm honest in what I put out. I don't embellish experiences or, situations. What it is exactly what I put out. So definitely, there's always a follow-up to everything. So I'm glad we have this one-on-one to really discuss things.
Yeah, plus no interference,
Yeah,
know, the lighting is good, the sound is good, everything's good.
exactly. I think that day when Brad, you and I were doing our interview, there was something negative with us that was really interfering with stuff. It wasn't supposed to be there, and Brad and I were just trying to ground the energies, trying to bring it back where it should be, like clean,
Yeah,
energetically clean. And there was interference, like ping,
yeah, yeah.
boom, boom, boom. And it's just a lot of interference, but we still did good. We got a lot of info out of that. And, we followed up today. So, and I'm recording on Skype. This is not through Google Hangouts.
Oh, that's good.
Skype is usually better than Google Hangouts,
Yeah,
especially with the one-on-one interviews.
yeah,
I prefer my interviews on Skype, but unfortunately, with the program I'm recording with, I can only record 2 people with the video. So,
yeah. Plus, there was no Skype interference,
no,
no weak signals or anything.
there usually isn't with Skype. Sometimes Google Hangouts drops signals unintentionally.
Yeah,
Or it's that kind of a day where there's too much negative interference. I really, it's hard to tell. I'm not going to blame it on this or that. Something happened. It was of a negative nature, that's all I'll say. We worked through it. We rebalanced and grounded the energies, and we brought it back together to have a good interview on that time. So that's all that really matters. And to try our best to just continue to do what we're supposed to, not give in and give up on the interview. Is something that I
yes,
learned. Because
Yeah.
Brad would just kept on going until everything was cleared and we were back to normal. So that's
That's,
something.
something worked.
Yeah, yeah, and he focused his energies and I focused my energies just to ground it back to the positive reality time frame to do our interview. Some positive energy and everything worked out. The universe is back to normal. Great. So thank you so much. It's been a wonderful interview with you and I look forward to doing another one soon.
Hey, if you have any good ideas, let me know.
Oh, I will. I always have ideas. It's just living on this planet, time does go by very quickly. So, you know, I'll always have ideas and we'll have another interview, that's for sure. So thank you so much. And on that note, I'll sign off.
Adios.
Adios. Bye.
See ya.